Hey guys, what's up? Hope you like the new backdrops with some new vinyls I got for Christmas. And today I figured, why not do another episode of Did It Grow on Me? This would be episode 4. And we're going to do the album that follows up the first one I talked about in this series. The first episode of this series, if you remember, I covered The Second Law by Muse and whether it grew me or not. Today we're going to look at its follow-up. 2015's Drones by Muse, to see if it grew on me any, because to me it was just alright, and I've given it about 3 to 4 listens, and we'll see if I change my mind. So yeah, let's just get this thing kicked off.
Get inside.
So on June 5th of 2015, Muse followed up their 2012 album, The Second Law, where it saw them take a more poppier route with this album, Drones, which saw them return to form, really. I mean, this was, they said, the first time that those two, or the 3 band members, Chris, Matt, and Dominic, just kind of jammed out in the studio together, made songs, and returned to their old sound of that of Absolution and fucking Origin of Symmetry and Showbiz. You know, those 3 albums in particular. And it kicks off with Dead Inside, which to me was one of my favorite tracks from this album. I mean, I remember hearing it on the radio while being like, wow, this is Muse. I thought they took a different direction and turn in their music style, but I love the guitars and I love the synths that go with it. It's just a great song. I really wish that the whole, with Psycho, I like the song. I think it's one of their more heavier songs. You know, guitars and drums just go hard on this thing. But, you know, I don't think we need the drill sergeant screams in there. I really don't. And the fact that they made the drill sergeant thing its own track, it's kind of like, I don't think that needs to be like that either. Maybe just kind of like you did with the music video, combine it. Because if you're going to have it in there, because that's just really a waste of a spot. But I would say get rid of the drill sergeant thing altogether, because it was just kind of like, you know, I'm enjoying the song and I don't want to hear a guy calling me a pussy and all this stuff, and hearing about my war cry, kind of like that scene in Full Metal Jacket where he's talking about, oh, let me see your war face, and the guy just lets out this belt, so that's kind of what that reminded me of, and the guy playing the sergeant kind of sounds like John Cena to me. Don't know why, it just kind of does, but it gets annoying after a while. Then Psycho follows up with Mercy, which is a decent track that reminds me of something that they would do from one of their first 2 albums. I mean, it's got those synths and pianos in there, and then of course your typical, kind of track or chorus by Muse. Reapers is really good. I do like the feeling on that. The guitar riff on that one is like, kind of, as my dad said, reminded him a lot of Van Halen's Hot for Teacher guitar riff. So I do like that little Matt Bellamy shred at the beginning. The Handler is cool as well. And then you get a little JFK interlude thing of his speech, which is fine. Like Linkin Park used a Martin Luther King speech as an interlude on their album A Thousand Suns, ironically sitting back here. But, and it goes right into the Defector well, which, by the way, the Defector, this is a highly underrated song. I'd said Dead Inside might have been my favorite track of the whole album. This one has to be my favorite. I mean, it just, from the beginning guitar riff to just the banging of the drums, it's just high intensity all throughout, and once again, it's one of the heavier songs on the album. I don't know how this thing wasn't made a single. I think it was made a promotional single, but never made an official single, because it says here the 6 singles off of this thing were Psycho, Dead Inside, Mercy, Aftermath, Reapers, and Revolt, which, by the way, Revolt and Aftermath follow each other afterwards, and they're both nice too. The chorus to Revolt is kind of different from what we're hearing from Muse. It kind of reminds me a lot of like an 80s song, but it's still, decent enough to listen to, and the Aftermath has its moments. Then we get the 10-minute monster that is The Globalist. This kind of reminds me of when they did the Resistance, and they had those 3-part. I think it was called the Exogenesis Symphonies. At the end, combined, those made a 13-minute track. So this really isn't the longest track that Muse has had if you want to combine those 3 together. But this one kind of reminded me of. It was like track just thrown into parts, mostly piano driven with a little bit of instruments here and there, but you get that heavy part toward the middle. It was just interesting 10 minutes. I don't really like this song that much. I think it's okay anyway. I don't think it's great, but I felt like if it was like 6.5 minutes, I think I could tolerate it a little bit more. But the fact that this thing apparently to them needed to be 10 minutes was a little overboard in my opinion. So, but hey, it's a decent song though. And then we get the title track, Drones, that finishes it off, which kind of gives us this newer, weirder sound. It was something Muse had never done before. Like I said, in their past 3 albums, from Black Holes and Revelations, The Resistance, and The Second Law, we got different sounds from them, anywhere from funk to just straight up pop to just kind of symphonic rock, all this stuff. But this was more, it kind of reminded me of just a choir. You had Matt Bellamy, Chris Wolstenholme, and Dominic Howard, all of their voices, come together on this this track. At least I'm assuming it's all 3. I mean, it also says that Drones contains music based on the Benedicts from Misa Pape Marcelli, composed by Giovanni. I'm not even going to say that name. So it looks like they just tried to delve into their inner symphonic orchestra type thing, which, like I said, they had done before, but this was more, there was no instruments at all. Like, at least they would mix some, like, rock in with their instruments, like a song, like, on The Second Law, like Supremacy, how they would mix it in, or a song like, Survival off of The Second Law, or even the song The Resistance. We all know that one well. This one was just kind of a weird ending. I mean, it's under 3 minutes, because after you get an almost 6-minute song and a 10-minute song thrown at you, it's like, all right, now I don't need to hear a song as long. Drones, to me, it's kind of soothing. Like this sound, like you would listen to that song, you'd be like, this does not sound like something you'd be into, but I listen to it and it's very soothing. It's not one that I would put on once again on purpose if like someone was rooting through a playlist or whatever. But I definitely can say that this one is unexpected, but at the same time you'll be surprised because you're like, this song is actually quite beautiful in a way. So yeah, so throughout the whole 12 tracks you get a sense of old Muse is back, but then you also hear some stuff they were doing from their previous 3 records. Maybe not as much as they were, but it was just a bittersweet thing to hear. So now we're going to see, after a couple more listens, if this album has grown on me. So I think I rated this the lowest of the Muse albums at 6 out of 10. And I think I said The Second Law grew on me a little bit more than usual, where I maybe went from a 6.5 to like a 7. This one goes from a 6 to about a 7.5. I think the reason it was my worst and the reason it was so low on my list was because when I went back and listened to this, I was like, oh yeah, now I remember this song, and then I'm just thinking to myself, why didn't these songs get stuck in my head back when I first listened? Probably because at first I'm like, these aren't that memorable than what people make it out to be, but hearing songs like The Defector and Reapers and The Handler and The Globalist, it was just, and Dead Inside, and I was just like, wow, I forgot this thing. Even Mercy I forgot about, and that was one of the bigger singles. I think Psycho and Dead Inside were the 2 big singles, but I had heard Dead Inside on the radio so much that I'm like, okay, I know that's on this album. But yeah, I think this thing would go from a 6 to like a 7.5 now for me. So it definitely has grown on me. Once again, I don't think it's their best album, but the fact that it was just a return to form that I think the fans wanted, and I think the band actually had fun doing it again. They've stated in interviews that, like I said, it was the first time they had played together in the studio, just jamming out on instruments, playing, heavy rock music like they did. And I think they were happy that they were just having fun again, and just knowing that this is going to please the fans. This is one of their lowest rated albums, But you look at and you look at that, it's like, okay, so they went back to their old sound only to change their sound again for simulation theory, but they said they're gonna keep changing their sound because they like to mess with different genres. But yeah, I mean, I just forgot how heavy this thing was. There's some heavy songs in here, like some of their heaviest, and there's some great guitar riffs. Like I said, the Reapers, that beginning riff by Matt Bellamy was probably one of his best shreds I've ever heard. I love the beginning of Defector. Psycho just has those heavy guitars and bass that's driven through it. And even the synth beginning in Mercy is just kind of cool as well. And like I said, the fact that it gets you pumped up from Dead Inside and then finishes off the way most albums try to nowadays, which is kind of more to just calm you down and be like, oh, it's over now. I feel relaxed, you know. So yeah, Drones would definitely get my seal of approval now, and I'm actually kind of glad that at the 58th Annual Grammy Awards, it won Best Rock Album of the Year. So at least it has that recognition, and people didn't completely forget about this album altogether, although I look back at it now and I don't hear a lot of people talk about this album that much. So maybe it did, but anyway, I don't know. So yeah, that does it for me. Tell me in the comments below, did this album grow on you at all, or did you like it from first listen, or did you not like it from first listen and still don't like it now? If you like the album or even don't like the album, tell me what your favorite song is on this thing, what's an underrated song on this thing, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, share, and I will catch you guys next time.